Space, the final frontier, is one of the first phrases we draw on whenever the talk of outer space arises, along with the notable mission by Neil Armstrong, of course. What is space? The final frontier, our final journey of sorts. Should we even bother in trying to go into space? Is the time and resources spent on space exploration worth it? To understand that, we need to understand where our fascination with space began. As early as recorded history can recount, humanity has always found fascination looking up at night and watching the expanse that covered the night sky. Early examples include the indigenous Australians, the ancient Greeks, even Roman poet Virgil, sic itur ad astra, thus swung journeys to the stars. It wasn't until 1543 that our understanding began to change. Nicholas Copernicus publishing his belief in the heliocentric system. Galileo Galilei provided further evidence to this. Sir Isaac Newton, Kepler, Einstein all contributed to mankind's understanding of the greater cosmos, but we still needed to get there.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Rocketeers have been developing rocket technologies as early as the 1900s. It wasn't until 1942, with the Germans and their V-2 rockets reaching the outer edge of space, that we saw actual progress in reaching to the stars. But with Germany's collapse, new feats in space exploration arose, along with the rising space race between the United States and the Soviet Union. By the early 1960s, the USSR was clearly ahead, being the first to launch a satellite and being first in sending a man into space. The Americans needed to pick up their game. NASA and the Apollo program were born. Tragedies did occur, with Apollo 1's entire crew being killed via the crew cabin, along with many incidences in testing. But after 8 years of the program, having developed the largest rocket in human history, having survived the coldness of space, they finally did it.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
NASA's goal post-Apollo switched from the Moon to low Earth orbit, developing improved stabilizers and life support to design the first form of interstellar government housing, also known as Skylab. Skylab laid the groundwork, spacework really, for the International Space Station, or ISS. Here, nations from around the globe, through NASA, could develop their scope of the sciences in order to improve their quality of life. The Space Shuttle program became the proof that spaceflight technologies can be reusable, servicing the ISS and undergoing hundreds of satellite maintenance missions until 2011. Satellite development applications increased dramatically course of the decade. Without them, we wouldn't have GPS, basic communications for rural areas, and the ability to view any street on the globe thanks to Google Maps. The Mars rovers have technically been humanity's first contact with the Martian surface, roaming the surface of the planet, scanning the materials that could prove useful. Useful for what, you say? Well, the rover missions tie in with the other venture current space agencies are tackling. Yes, we, after 50 years, are going back to the moon. The Lunar Gateway project was the revival of the Constellation program for our return to the moon by the year 2024. The Lunar Gateway will act as an orbital platform where the construction of the first lunar bases will commence. The first of these bases will likely to be at the South Pole, with the discovered frozen water deposits acting as a supply of water, oxygen, and rocket fuel. But this is merely the beginning. With the completion of these bases, the true meaning behind the name Gateway will come to fruition. Because the moon's gravitational field is a sixth of the strength of the Earth's, it requires much less for rockets to take off and achieve spaceflight. It is with this in mind that the moon bases will serve as a gateway for the first manned missions to Mars. Once there, the knowledge gained by the Mars rovers will help us use the Martian materials to build the structures for future settlements on Mars. Recent decades have seen the rise of private space industries. Private companies like SpaceX and Virgin Atlantic are now able to fund and manufacture their own rocket technologies. SpaceX is a curious example where their rate of development has rivaled the development of most national space agencies. They nearly were shut down in early development, yet ever since that point they have exceeded the expectations of many. developing the most powerful operational rocket, developing the first American-made spacecraft that can carry astronauts since the closure of the Space Shuttle initiative, and managing to successfully design boosters that can land and be reused. These advancements SpaceX have made spaceflight economically feasible. Humanity has truly reached a point where we can, if we maintain the political will, go forth and begin to leave our permanent mark on other worlds. What if we do find the elusive green men, or other forms of sentient life? Or are we truly alone? We may never know the answer to these questions. However, thanks to our own creativity, we can continue to encroach on the frontier of space with cautious optimism. The expanse that is space is so vast that it should be classed as something greater than a frontier. And that is the exact reason why humanity was destined to reach out for the stars. It is in our nature to explore, to go further. And with each small step forward we make today, mankind will leap and stride further towards its destiny in the stars.